one too, though.
Oh,
It's 9:59. It's already 9:59.
I know.
Just a quarter to.
I know. Look at that's what I'm talking about. Did you bring the Bible on purpose? Or you just have it? Hey, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Good start.
It says 10 o'clock still.
All right, it's 10 o'clock, so we're going to get the administrative meeting started today. I want to welcome everybody for being here today. We do not have Commissioner Ivy. He's taking care of a loved one who's having a medical procedure done today, and certainly wish them the best. And I think we expect him to be back on Monday, correct? I don't remember seeing anything that he would not be, so hopefully he will be, and hopefully his family member is doing well this morning. We have a couple of privileges of the floor, so I've got to know we'll do those at the end. Before we get started though, Road and Bridge had a presentation, a graphic they wanted to show, and there may be some discussion. It's not on the agenda, but I penciled it in, and I guess we're just gonna have to be okay with that today. Because I feel like it's important that we talk about this. Exactly.
This, you'll see, this is just path of the storm that we got from the National Weather Service. Is that red line down the middle? Big, thick red line.
Mhm.
And, we went out and surveyed the area and the damages, and we went basically a mile and a half each side of that path. We drew a median line through the middle of it, about a mile and a half each side. And that's pretty much where the extensive damage is.
Mhm.
And that's where, we were gonna concentrate our cleanup efforts, so.
And typically what we do with these types of storms, like we'll discuss it at the commission level, and we've had some hurricanes that have been widespread, countywide impacts. And I'm not going to say that, no one was impacted out of this track, but this is where the significant damage occurred. And so this is where the proposal is for us to, like you said, concentrate our cleanup efforts. This is going to come at a tremendous amount of expense to the county. We will not be receiving federal or state reimbursement for this cleanup effort. Ironically, if we were a county in the state of Florida, we would, but we're a county in Alabama, and we're the only one that receives significant damage in Alabama. So therefore, we don't get any federal or state funding, which is frustrating. And we've talked about being penalized because we live in the corner of the state of Alabama. And if we lived in the middle of the state of Alabama, other people would probably be impacted, and we would be getting reimbursed for this. So thankfully, we have a good reserve funding. We were talking about this morning. I'll have some more information that I'll share probably on Monday. But if there's no objection, I think the proposal is to do free debris cleanup within this tract. It's going to be expensive, but I feel it's the right thing to do.
And we are talking with FHWA on our own system roads, getting them up estimates and all. I don't think it'll qualify, but if it does, we might receive a little assistance on them, but it won't be much.
Yeah. Every little bit helps. So any questions or discussion on this? Comments? Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right. We appreciate what y'all have done. And I know a lot of people have talked about the great response. And I was down there Tuesday, and I saw you and Barkley, you and Tyler down there. Y'all were down there before I got down there. And so I think, I know the community greatly appreciates all the work and coordination that y'all done. So good job and kudos.
Thank you.
Can I say something, Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to make sure that as bad as it was in Cottonwood, and it still is, last Tuesday morning changed a lot of lives down there. It tore some stuff up that's been there, buildings there for over 100 years. The tornado lasted 37 seconds in Cottonwood, what I understand. It took away over 100 years worth of work in 37 seconds. And there's a great deal of people. The part about it was impressive. As bad as it was, it showed the character of Cottonwood. It showed the character of Houston County. It showed the character of people coming together for a greater need for the people. And the volunteers that showed up to help, donations, Road and Bridge was there. Everybody that could help the state was there. And as the District 2 Commissioner, I am very grateful for all the support and that this has happened for us. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I've heard nothing but positive comments. If anybody has any negative comments, I'm not saying they don't, but I hadn't heard them. But nothing but positive comments about Road and Bridge, as well as EMA and our EMA director.
Yes,
Marcus is in the audience today. And he called me a couple of days before the storm. He said, Brandon, I think this is going to be bad, and so he started the messaging, and I have no doubt that messaging most likely saved people's lives.
The part that most people don't realize, that storm come through there a little bit after 8 o'clock. The city of Dothan sent I'm not sure what rank she is, battalion chief down there to help organize, get everything set up, helped us come to a small town of Cottonwood to help. It was a group effort. Once they got everything together, Southern Power together, the engineer, things went happening. Everything else fell in line, and it was impressive to watch. They have come so far since last Tuesday to where they are now. It's impressive. And I just, I'm just thankful to be part of District 2.
All right. With that, we will move on to our regular agenda. We have a request to approve the budget amendment for temporary labor funding in the personnel department. So Ms. Sherry is here, and she can come up and speak on this item.
I have an employee that will be taking a medical leave of absence. And so what I needed to do is I have one person already employed with us for 2 years that will be able to step up and do that position while she's on medical leave. And I need to get a temporary to fill the other position during that leave. So I did not realize, because I didn't know this, of course, medical leave was happening at budget time. So I didn't ask for it in the regular budget because I just found out about it not too long ago.
Gotcha. All right, any questions on this item?
How much is it gonna be?
It should be in the packet. The question was how much, and the increase will be
I see it now.
$14,392.37.
Yes, sir. Now, I figured that on a 12-week leave, which is by FMLA by law that she's entitled to.
Mhm.
It may be shorter or longer depending on the outcome of her health.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's all I have.
Gotcha.
No objection.
Good. My recommendation would be to do this unless y'all want to get over there and start figuring out how to do payroll, because I don't know. I don't know if
We've been
Ms.
pretty
Sherry,
stretched lately.
it's been pretty stretched. So any objection to placing this item on the agenda?
No objection.
Thank you. Item number 2 is a request to adopt resolution for the Brownfield Tax Abatement Project for, I should have figured out how to pronounce this, Heredita Enterprises LLC. Matt Parker is going to come up and give me the correct pronunciation to talk about this project.
He's trying to figure out how to say it too on the way up here.
Probably.
I'm gonna bring my VP in charge here too, Colton Curitan, but this is for the Danny Vision project, and it's gonna be a mixed-use development. They qualified under the Brownfield Redevelopment Tax Abatement Act.
And so we're requesting the county to approve that. We also have to get the city to approve their portion of the taxes on that to help it. You guys have supported us on many projects down there. You utilize that statutory
Yeah.
program to help redevelop these properties. And it does not exempt any educational taxes. And it provides a 20-year tax abatement for non-educational taxes from the city and county standpoint. The sales tax, obviously 0.7 is
Mhm.
not exempted on the county's portion, so it'd be 0.3 on that for the project. So, Tony, you got anything you want to add to it?
No, I would just add, the brownfield tax abatement process has just been such a great incentive to help some of these older properties as we try to redevelop those. Ignite the flame that's continued downtown Dayton, and some of those older properties that just need a lot more help.
Mhm.
And especially that is the case with that Denny Vision building. It's actually 7 buildings in one. So we went through the process of environmental studies and going through the process of ADEM, getting it into the program. And this is the final step to continue that, to allow them to take advantage of those resources from the city and county to redevelop their property.
Yeah, that'll be nice. And it's right across the road from our courthouse. So anything that enhances that neighborhood enhances the value of our courthouse. Not that we're going to sell it or anything, but I think we all agree we want downtown to be as beautiful as possible. So any questions on this item? I saw the abatement is for $3 million in capital investments. That's not to say we're abating $3 million in taxes, just the capital investment is $3 million.
Correct.
Any questions, any objections placing this item on the agenda for Monday?
No objection.
No objection.
Thank y'all. Item number 3 is a request to adopt resolution to authorize the allocation of American Rescue Plan Act funds for eligible water infrastructure project for the town of Webb. Mr. Peter Covert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you gentlemen may recall, we have a deadline of December 31st, 2024 to obligate the ARPA funds. This is an ARPA project. And there's been quite a push lately. There's a few projects that haven't yet sort of kickstarted. And we are trying to, as a county, we're trying to help get those projects off the ground so that there's plenty of time for all the paperwork that needs to be covered up on these projects and all of the dots, our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. This is an allocation resolution. From this step, then we go into a risk assessment, we enter into a subrecipient agreement, and once that's all approved, then it'll come back to the commission for our resolution to allocate this, to actually appropriate those funds for the project. This is just preliminary allocation. I'll send them a letter of intent and we'll get that process started. There are 2 other projects that we're starting, or 3 other projects that we're trying to get started from some of our local towns. And we're continuing to work on that. Hopefully we'll be able to have those before you to decide on between now and the end of March. That's my goal.
So now we have to, the deadline is we have to appropriate these funds by the end of this year, correct? So this is not, to what you just said, not an appropriation, but the first step that will lead eventually to an appropriation.
That's correct.
Peter and I met, just to fill y'all in, we met yesterday or day before, I can't remember, my days run together, but we may need to set a deadline. And if we do that, I think I know we had a deadline for the towns to submit, and that was just kind of an internal decision that we made. But I may want to do a commission resolution to set a deadline to have, I guess, this first step done by a certain date. We discussed, I think, April 1st or May 3rd, I can't remember. But because this process, I mean, admittedly, IAC, who is our contractor that oversees a lot of this stuff in terms of eligibility and making sure we follow the process correctly, because, Peter's got plenty of things to do, and ARPA funds is not what he signed up to do, and nor does he have the capacity to do it. But because they are so slow and because the process takes so long, I would like for us to get on the same page, because what I don't want to do is have the chairman or Peter say, okay, well, you didn't get it by a certain date, so therefore you're cut off. But we have to protect this money, because if we don't spend it, if it's not allocated, it goes back to the federal government. And obviously, we don't want that to happen. So we may come back if some of these towns continue to, and I'm not saying they're dragging their feet, but things are just not progressing as quickly as what we need them. And they have contractors, and their contractors are swamped. So I get it. But anyway, that may be a discussion topic for a future meeting. So just a heads up on that. But if you have a town that has one of these projects and we don't have it to where it needs to be, y'all can just kind of follow up. I've followed up, but it always helps if y'all do the same thing. So. But this is for the town of Webb. So any questions on this item? Any objection to placing this item on the agenda for Monday?
No objection.
Okay. Yes.
If there's some of these funds left that are available, we can put something together real fast on pay.
Yeah.
So.
Now this, yeah. Yeah, that's what we probably want to do if some of these funds are not used. Oh, yeah.
Always a helping hand.
There's plenty of roads that need it, ain't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, amen to that. All right, item number 4 is a request to adopt resolution to request Alabama Attorney General opinion for determining service areas for fire protection and ambulance response. So, Press, why don't you, you're already there. How about that? Why don't you, we've talked about this. This has kind of been not an issue, but just something that we need resolved. So why don't you talk about this item?
Before you, gentlemen, we have a resolution as well as a letter and a form, 3 documents. So by operation of law, the county commission is one of the few entities that can request an attorney general's opinion. In order to do that, a resolution has to be passed by the commission requesting the specific opinion to be asked of the attorney general. That resolution has to include facts and the questions that we want to propose. So essentially, these items all work together to be the proposal for a request for an attorney general's opinion from the commission to the attorney general. There are certain points along the line. One of the things that you may note is I've put my name in as the person to contact. Oftentimes, the Attorney General's office will receive an opinion request and have follow-up questions about the facts or particular circumstances. And it's just going to be easier, I think, to have that one line of communication to present to them. It will be an opinion rendered to the county commission, not to Preston Register, obviously. The letter is simply trying to lay out the scope of facts in question, and then the form itself includes the questions to be asked. So in general terms, as you are well aware, we have a kind of shifting population in Houston County where people are living has moved over the last, say, 20 years. One of the questions that has come up is how do we best render emergency services such as fire and ambulance services in Houston County? And the question that we are posing generally to the Attorney General is what entity or entities helps to make that decision or is responsible for making the decision of what entity to dispatch to a particular location. If you call 911, somebody needs to go. Who's going to decide who to call and say, go to this fire, bring this ambulance out to this location? And so it is fair to say that that is a not direct answer. There are still a lot of factors that go into that, but this opinion is a request to get to the bottom of that so that the commission has good direction to go forward, as well as any entities that would be involved know kind of where they stand in the whole scheme of things, so that ultimately your citizens can be served better with a more clear outline of who is responsible for making those decisions. If, for say, lines need to change along a route for offering fire, offering ambulance services.
Okay.
Clear as mud. Any questions?
I got a few.
Yes.
Sure. So make sure, I know this has been an ongoing issue for a while. And we're going to get some clarification finally, hopefully with this Attorney General's opinion to clarify who's responsible for the funding of, I guess, doing these guidelines or these lines, these certain lines that you have in each district or each area. And then the other thing is to know who's responsible as a 911 district. I'd guess the 911 district has, we give money to the 911 district. City of Dothan gives money to 911 district, but we don't know who it is that has the authority to be able to do this or where the funding comes from. Is that correct? That's what this is going to do. This opinion is going to give us that, whether we're commissions responsible for doing the funding for that or whether the E911 board is.
The funding and the articulation and the determination of the map.
The map.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that'd be great to get that clarification.
It
Thank
would
you.
make sense to me, and I think it would make sense to most people for the E911 board to be responsible for that, but there's some disagreement as to, it may be us. If it is us, we need to know. I don't think it's us, but we need to know for sure. The other question.
Who's making the decisions right now?
That there is a map that has been in use for, I think at this point, decades.
Since 1980, I think.
So who now is responsible for making that map and does it need to be changed? That's where we're getting into this question. So what your question is the opinion being asked of the attorney general.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Any objection to placing this item on the agenda for Monday?
No objection.
We have two privileges of the floor. Let's see. In no particular order. Mr. Gary Knight is here, and he's going to talk to us about transparency and open public meetings. Mr. Gary, floor is yours, and you have 5 minutes.
It's scary night. I've been involved with government and so forth quite some time. I've seen a growing trend throughout our country, and it's kind of come down to a local level of not being fully honest with people, avoiding questions. Privilege of the floor is great, but it doesn't allow you to ask questions. Keeps you on one subject. And what I'm asking for is potentiality of open meetings. You can be monitored by the news media and so forth, where an individual will be subject to, elected official will be subject to answering questions, because one question can beg another question, and so forth. So, question and answers, they don't exist. And when you don't have question and answers, you don't have accountability. And this is what's needed. We need to get back the faith of the public in our elected officials. I blame part of this on the news media. You don't see them. They don't hold anybody accountable. They won't, if you would, stir the pot. This can be due to lack of having people available. The newspapers, they don't want to go out of print for them all, I'm sure. So they don't have reporters like they used to have that would ask the hard questions. You've got to keep in mind, legality and ethics can be a totally different thing. You can do something legally, but you can violate ethically of not being honest to the people. I've never met a politician who ran for office when I talked to him who's not in favor of term limits and open meetings. Then he gets elected. And he doesn't want term limits, and he doesn't want open meetings, because there's some hard questions that need to be asked. There's no feedback to the public. The public doesn't know where you stand. I cannot ask an individual commissioner or any elected official a direct question, because you're not allowed to respond to it. The meeting should be attended by a monitor. I'm not saying throw everybody under the bus, but I also realize many times an elected official inherits problems that his predecessor has created, and he doesn't want to throw him under the bus by exposing certain activity. This can be helpful, should be beneficial to you as elected officials without putting you in jeopardy of any kind of ethical questions. We need to maintain and retain confidence in our elected officials. Now, I swore that I would not say that four-letter word that's been band from my conversation that starts with an A. And, yeah, you know what I mean? But the reason this question has been repeatedly asked is because there's been no response. Nobody has, turned around and said, okay, we agree that this is needed, but you just accept the statement and then go about your business until the next meeting, and it's not acted upon. We would like to have feedback from the commissioners concerning, and you know what issue I'm talking about. There is some high questionable movement of monies that need to be answered. But when you don't answer, then everybody's imagination kind of runs wild. We need to open up on this. And I know three commissioners here that have said they'd like to have open meetings, and some of them have. But they limited to the subjects. When I ask, well, what about so-and-so? I don't expect the response to be to me, go home and spend time with your family and forget about what you've learned. Everything I've learned, I've had to pull it. And I had to look it up. No help from anybody. And it gets frustrating after a while. But we have good, honest men and commissioners right here. And I'll leave you with this. Curtis Harvey knows exactly what I'm fixing to say. What does a man profit if he gains the world but loses his soul? You've got to be honest with yourself and honest with the public. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary. We have another gentleman, Mr. George Trotter. Topic to be addressed, considerations in county government procedures relative to citizen participation in public meetings. Mr. George, floor is yours.
Wasn't there something in parentheses, sir, on that also?
Yes, erosion of our civil liberties.
What's that?
Erosion of our civil liberties.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, for allowing me to come before you with this governing entity here in Houston County as a citizen here in Houston County for 28 years. I wanted to address just a minute, Mr. Chairman, if you allow me to comment on the disaster in Cottonwood. I want to make a public announcement. I called them and told them at their station, WDHN did an excellent job. I watch when there's warnings in advance. That's one thing I do. I spend my time watching, and we've had some, the National Weather Forecast have had some, I guess you'd say, exceptions to being really, really good in the last year or two. But this one, buddy, they predicted it to the minute. And our local EMA and everybody, like y'all said, did an excellent job. But WDHN, and I flip back and forth to our two TV stations, WDHN and WTVY. And WDHN, those guys were up there on that map, and I say they probably saved a lot of lives because they were right on it, right to the minute as to where to be and what, you know, and the time frame and everything was just excellent. And I wanted to make that public here, but I did call them and commend them for that. Getting back to my topic, erosion of our constitutional rights. If y'all, and hopefully you are monitoring what's going on, even though we don't have much mainstream accurate media, and we certainly don't have any local to a great degree anymore. But if you've been watching, there is a trend, and I've noticed it in the last 30 days in particular, where what is happening, the citizens across our country, from right here in the county, local entities, all the way through to Washington, are waking up and realizing we're allowing our constitutional rights to be chipped away. And I want to ask this, and you know this is not the first time, I want to ask you to highly consider getting away from this privilege of the floor request by a citizen to come here and address something. You're not able to get an agenda of what you're going to discuss and what's confronting us as citizens out here. And by the way, y'all work for us, the people. We don't know until an hour or two before we get here to be able to address something. So I'd like to see y'all do away with that, and I want to cite one instance, Mr. Chairman, if y'all will. I don't know if you keep up, like I say, with the local news and all, but someone called me and told me, he said, Mr. Trotter, this was about 2 months ago. Are you aware that the city of Ozark that turned down a request by one of their commissioners had made a motion for them to entertain an acting privilege of the floor for a citizen to come address him, and you know, they couldn't even get a second from another commission. Therefore, it was dead on arrival. That's what should have happened, and I'm hoping will happen with our county commission here. It will give the people, and I've called, and I know a number of people in Ozark, and I called and talked to them, and they feel really, really good about their city government there. Because of that, one of the main reasons that they allow to go under the rules and regulations, under decorum. Everybody understands that. But they able and they feel like, and they have people that show up. So I'm just asking you one more time, please consider putting constraints on the citizens to be able to participate in our constitutional republic form of government. And that is of the people, by the people, for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trotter. There being no further business to discuss today, we will adjourn and we will have our regular county commission meeting at 10 a.m. on Monday. Thank y'all.